trees. Some of them are big, just like this one. And some of them are small, like these ones. But the issue that we have with trees, as we all know, is roots. So let's talk a little bit about why are roots a problem and what can they actually do to your septic system. Now, the short answer is roots are going to obstruct the flow of liquid and solids through your sewer line. We've talked about sewer lines in the past. Basically what they are is the conveyance line that gets the water from the house every time you flush that toilet to the septic system. The problem with sewer lines is they're pretty easy to mess up. You could have a whole bunch of woody roots just like these getting in the way, causing blockages to happen. Just like I can't walk through this bush. Sewer lines come in a couple varieties. You either have PVC, cast iron, terracotta, Orangeburg. Now, there might be an ABS pipe or an STR35. There might be some other different weird stuff, but those four are the most common in our area. When you have a sewer line, ideally, you don't have any kind of dips or any kind of bellies or any kind of obstructive forces. Maybe a crack in the line, maybe a disjoint. Something that can prevent the water from flowing smoothly from the house to the septic tank. This is where trees come into play. The issue with trees is they love sewer water. Sewer water is a great nutritional drink for the tree to grow nice and strong and healthy. Sorry, it's getting kind of cold, so we had to go inside to warm up a few minutes. Let's continue. So when you flush a toilet, all that wastewater is going to go to the tank. As we've talked in the past, septic tanks are designed to basically clarify the liquid. You have the toilet paper waste and water going to the tank. From there, all the heavy stuff falls out of suspension, and then the liquid will work its way off to the drain fields. Now, roots, they're mischievous little things. All it takes is one crack or one gap, or maybe somebody didn't put enough glue on the joint for your PVC pipe, and now you've got roots working their way in. They'll start small, and eventually they'll get a little bit larger and larger, and the problem is all it takes is to catch one thing. Maybe a flushable wipe, maybe a feminine product, and then all of a sudden, now you've got a clog, and all that stuff is going back to your house. It's important to make sure that you're checking your sewer line out every now and again. Maybe every 5-10 years. Have somebody send a camera through there. Make sure nothing's changed. Make sure nothing's building up. Because the last thing you want is Christmas Day, Thanksgiving, birthday perhaps. You flush the toilet and guess what? It all comes right back to you. So how do you deal with root intrusion? Well, the simple answer is you remove them. Right? Sounds self-intuitive, but let's talk a little bit about different ways to do it while we get ready to drive on to the next property. One of the ways that you can remove the roots is with an auger. And so basically what'll happen is as you send this down the sewer line, it's gonna have a blade on it that chops up all the roots and then pulls them out of the way. Now, this is a good temporary solution in my opinion. And the reason why is if you cut those roots out, they're gonna continue to grow back. And much like all vegetation, you cut them away, they start to grow faster, they start to grow bigger, they start to grow more. Over time, you'll run into a problem where that root is now just gonna be growing so often and so fast that you're gonna constantly be snaking out the line. The roots are getting into the sewer line through a crack separation or some kind of defect in the pipe itself. So the problem is that if you only are augering the line, you're not really solving the cause of the issue. Kind of dealing with the symptom. And in this case, the symptom is the roots. So how do you fix the actual pipe? Easy. You go ahead, you dig it up. So essentially the best way to fix root intrusion is to reseal the pipe. So you have to dig down to it, cut it, put in a nice correct permanent fitting on top of it so that way you can make sure roots don't get back into it in the future. I'll tell you though, doing a pipe replacement's way more expensive than having somebody snake out your line. So you'll run into the issue of, do I spend a little bit of money now? Or do I spend a lot of money now? And if I spend a lot of money, then I don't have to worry about dealing with it again for a while. But if I spend a little bit of money, this is going to become an ongoing issue for quite a while. Typically, I recommend full pipe replacement. But, you know, I get it. Budgets might be tight. If you can't afford to do that, or if it's not right now something you want to do, obviously snaking it out is going to be just fine. You'll buy yourself some time, you'll buy yourself a few months, and then you can reassess where you're at later. If you're wondering how can you check your sewer line yourself, that's a great question. And the good news is there's a lot of rental centers where you can actually rent the cameras and take a look yourself, and it's really not that expensive. Usually it's between $100 and $300 depending on the type of camera you want to get. If you get one of the ones that has a locator, which I strongly recommend, you'll be able to pinpoint exactly where the problem is, and you'll be able to know what type of materials you're working with. So let's just say, for example, we have the most common root intruded pipe is terracotta. Well, unfortunately, terracotta pipe is most prone to roots, meaning every joint is going to have some variation of root intrusion, most likely. In our state, we didn't really use terracotta pipe underneath of a slab, but let's just say you have a driveway over top of it. Now you're able to figure out where is your pipe in relation to the driveway, how bad is the root intrusion, and then you can kind of decide, well, if it's underneath of a driveway, it's going to cost quite a lot of money to repave the driveway. It may not hurt to go ahead and just cut my losses, and we're just going to auger it out and just do that frequently. And just know that that's a problem you're going to have to deal with on a regular, ongoing basis. I try to think that I am a more practical homeowner, to where I get it, where things are not necessarily perfect every single time. But these locators are great. They're good at getting you in the right direction and at least helping you figure out what you're working with. PVC pipe is probably the least likely, and cast iron. I would say PVC pipe and cast iron are usually the least likely to have root intrusion. Most commonly, that is because of the way that those pipes are joined together. Terracotta pipe, typically there's no seal. Sometimes there'll be cement, sometimes there won't. Most often, though, there's nothing. It's just the pipes are laid on top of each other. Cast iron pipe used to be joined together with lead and oakum, so basically you're fusing metal on metal. Unless there's a crack in the metal, the chances of the roots getting it are pretty slim. PVC pipe, how that works is the glue basically melts the pipe to itself. So if you have the correct primer, the correct glue, the pipe should fuse and there should be no room for roots to get in there. Orangeburg pipe, on the other hand, typically is my least favorite pipe, and usually it's collapsed by the time we get to the root issue. But Orangeburg pipe is basically just paper mache. It's going to be like wood fiber and pitch, and it basically just kind of falls apart. So it doesn't take much to crush it. It doesn't take much for the roots to get into it, and you run into the same issue. But most of those pipes have collapsed by now. I come across Orangeburg maybe once every 3 months. Like, it's not a very common pipe anymore, at least. Most commonly, it's going to be terracotta pipe. And you don't really want terracotta because of the root intrusion. Terracotta, if it's joined right and there's a seal and there's no root intrusion, is a really, really good pipe. It is a solid pipe. It is good. It's smooth. Very infrequent clogging issues. However, they always have roots, so you always run into that problem. Most of your older homes, like in Baltimore City, like your row homes, Canton, Fed Hill, all those sorts of things are usually going to have cast iron pipe in the slab or in the basement area, and then it'll transition immediately to terracotta pipe underneath the alley or at the front sidewalk, and usually it's always destroyed. The good news about root intrusion, though, is a lot of times you can get home warranties to basically cover that. So you can get a warranty that'll cover your sewer line, and it'll cover for the roots. Now, the home warranties won't replace the pipe. They'll go ahead, they'll snake it out, they'll make sure it's clear and water's able to flow, which is kind of half the battle, right? Most of the warranties will have between $100 and $300 deductible. You know, you might pay a plumber $600, $700 to have them snake out the line. It may be worth, especially if you're having this as a frequent issue, it may be worth to have the home warranty, and then they just deal with that problem on an ongoing basis. Unfortunately, I'll tell you, having been the owner of a home warranty policy, they're slow. It'll take a while. So if you have sewage in your basement, you might have to sit with it for 2 or 3 days or more, depending on what the contractor's going to do and how fast they can show up. On top of that, you're basically stuck on their schedule. So they're going to show up whenever they want, and you have to make the arrangements. So it can kind of suck if you have a job or if you have to go somewhere, and it is what it is. Now you get to be the one to deal with it. The best way to avoid root intrusion is to not tempt fate. Don't plant trees over top your sewer line. Those pine trees that people use for privacy fences, they're great. They look beautiful. And a lot of times they do a really good job of growing quick and keeping it to where people can't see into your yard. The problem is that those trees grow really fast. So that means that if they're getting really big and really tall really quick, roots are also getting very big, very tall, and they're growing very quick. So you run into the problem of these privacy fences that people put up with the trees. The sewer line looks great, and then 10 years later, the sewer line is completely full of roots, and then now you have to remove the trees and redo the pipe. You might get some people who say, it's not my problem, I'll be moving by then. Unfortunately, not everybody can move when they want. So some people will have the plan of moving in 5-10 years, but then they get stuck, and they're stuck living there for 20 years because life happens. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot because you're being a little silly. So if you want a privacy fence, just put an actual privacy fence. Build an actual fence, not just trees. There's also less maintenance that has to go into dealing with the normal fence instead of a tree. Anywho, as you all know, I make videos every day on the world of well and septic. I have a few extra projects coming out that I'm trying to bring you all along with me. I hope that this was interesting and at least kind of brings a little bit more clarity to roots for you. And if you gained any value out of that, leave a comment below. Let me know. Did this help you understand? Did you learn anything? Did you have a root issue with your sewer line? I love hearing those stories, and I love interacting with you all in the comments. And I'll see you all next time.